Patriots and Mac Jones hitting the practice field today. There is Bailey Zappe, who was signed to the practice squad a day after he was cut. So Mac's currently the only quarterback on the Patriots' 53-man roster. For those keeping score, this is actually the second time in 3 years that the lone QB on the Patriots' initial roster is Mac Jones. Team cut Cam Newton and Brian Hoyer during Mac's rookie year, with Hoyer ultimately signing back following some roster manipulation. But this year it feels different with Mac being the only QB. Remember what Bill Belichick said the day after the 2022 season?
Mac Jones, health permitting, is he a player that you envision being your starting quarterback next season, or is this a position you need to reevaluate this offseason?
Well, I think there's, Mac has the ability to, to play quarterback in this league, and we have to all work together to try to, find the best and most, best way to as a football team. Which obviously the quarterback's an important position to be more productive than we were this year.
It's that's all word salad.
A lot of nothing.
Word salad right there is Mike Giardi, Phil Perry, Amina Smith rejoining the show to talk about this. Mike, I'm going to start with you on this one. What did Mac Jones, being the lone guy left on the 53-man roster at that quarterback position, what does that tell you?
They're invested in him fully for the first time, I think, maybe since his rookie year. Last year got a little dicey. Obviously, they gave him Patricia and Judge. We know how that worked. But it basically started in the offseason by going and getting Bill O'Brien. And the amount of time those two have spent together, dating back to the winter and spring and now into the season. Like, they're tailoring this for Mac Jones, not for Bailey Zappe, not for some other quarterback, but for Mac Jones. And it also goes back to what the Kraft said. Both Robert and Jonathan, I think Robert definitely has been on record as saying, like, he's a first-round pick. We like Mac Jones. Like, hey, remember, we drafted him in the first round. Remember, it was pretty good in that first year. Hey, Bill, remember, if you give him some good players and a good system, this could work. Like, they're in on Mac Jones. They have to be.
Well, they've got one thing, Phil. They have a good system. I think the question that remains is everything around him. So how would you rate out the level of commitment they have to really developing Mac Jones?
Well, if you look at what he has in terms of weaponry and in terms of the investments that they've made in the protection system around him, it's not enough to contend, in my opinion. And that's just looking at the numbers. You can follow the money. Trent Brown is their one real lock at tackle, and he's not paid like a high-end tackle. We don't even know who's going to be the tackle on the other side. We know what he's dealing with at receiver, and I like some of those players. I mentioned Pop Douglas earlier. I think he's going to ascend as the year goes on. I really like his skill set. Kendrick Bourne, I think, is going to have a much better year than he did a year ago. But at his best, what is he? He's not one of these superstar receivers that a lot of young quarterbacks that are on rookie contracts and low salaries are able to work with early in their careers to help them along and allow them to establish themselves in this league. So as far as that part of the commitment goes, it's not there in the way it is for other young quarterbacks that are in his position that were drafted in the first round and that were handed the keys. I will give them credit on this front, though, guys. I will say, and I thought this was a possibility going into training camp, if Bailey Zappe and Mac Jones were splitting first-team reps at all, at any point this summer, I would say that's doing Mac Jones a real disservice, because now, even though competition's great and in theory everyone should be competing for their job, you do have to get someone ready to play. And in his third offense in 3 years, if they had been taking first-team reps away from Mac Jones, that would have been a mistake in my opinion. They didn't do that. And so now, for their sake, hopefully he's ready.
I mean, there have been some, questions about how good of a quarterback can Mac Jones be, right? Like, overall in the NFL, is he top 10, top 15? It doesn't seem like he has the skill set to be a top 5 quarterback in this league. So is it the right decision for the Patriots to put their chips behind Mac Jones?
I mean, it should be the right decision. They drafted him in the first round. I mean, you have to put all your chips behind him, because just like we've continued to talk about last season and even coming into this season is that whether or not they really believe in Mac Jones. And now I feel like it's time for them to go all in on him, because you did spend that first round pick on him. So bring him in an actual offensive coordinator in Bill O'Brien. You try to get him some wide receivers. Obviously, we know the Patriots, just as history has told us, they're not used to bringing in superstar receivers. So they're giving him basically what they are used to. Then you bring in some tight ends, and they're trying to do some things with the running backs as well. They're giving him a serviceable roster that they are used to kind of building, even though the NFL is changing. But I think they are moving towards developing him and making him kind of invest investing in him being their franchise quarterback.
Well, not everyone thinks they are investing enough in one Mac Jones. Karen Guregian of Mass Live wrote this today on the Patriots 2023 roster. I'd say it's akin to looking at an empty canvas. It's a team that's somewhat nondescript thanks to a lack of game-breaking stars and elite talent. Seriously, should anyone feel good about all the roster mismanagement that went on that left them with one quarterback, two running backs, and two tight ends after cutdown day Tuesday? They remain thin in too many areas on offense. And while the offensive line has been fortified in theory, it will be foolhardy to say Jones is going to live happily ever after playing in front of that line. Basically, it's Jones' offense, sink or swim. Mike, I say preach, Karen Guregian. Yes. I agree with her. Like I look at, and I hear what Amina is saying, that they want to develop it, and they obviously want to develop Mac Jones, but I just wonder, how much can you learn about Mac Jones when he doesn't have game-changing wide receivers, when he has an injury-prone tight end, and you don't really know how Gesicki is going to also fit into the offense. Mm-hmm. You don't know if Juju Smith-Schuster is going to stay out there, and I haven't even gotten to the offensive line, in which they didn't invest in a tackle position, which is probably the most important thing for Mac Jones to have his kind of a game. So to me, they're investing in him, but they're not fully investing in him. They're kind of like, okay, kid, this is what Tom Brady did it with. Mm-hmm. Let's see if you can go out and do the same thing.
See, this is the thing, though, Trenni. They believe that they have given him enough because there is institutional arrogance in the way they've done this before, and it's worked. So if it worked before, why won't it work again? We're really smart. We're smarter than the guys on the sidelines across from us. We can game plan. We can scheme it up. We don't need elite talent at all these positions because we're smart enough to do it. And that's why Bill O'Brien is back here, and why we've talked about it all off season. We've talked about it all summer. He's such an important piece to what they're going to do because he needs to be up here. Like when you're talking about the offensive coordinators in the league, he needs to be a top 5 offensive coordinator because they're going to ask him to do more with less once again. Their weapons are bottom third in the league. Plain and simple, bottom third in the league. Yeah, it's nice that Kendrick Bourne's had a good summer. He absolutely has. I applaud him for doing it. Pop Douglas has popped, right? So you're expecting something from him. But by and large, when you look at the group and you compare him to the teams in their division, and then you compare them across the league, bottom third, guys, that's where they are.
That's exactly what the Patriots are doing. They are so used to having Tom Brady here in New England, and it's like, hey, this is what we're going to give you. Just make it work. And Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. And we're going to continue to have this conversation over and over again until the Patriots realize that they have to draft superstars, that they have to bring in superstars in order to win games and to go deep into the playoffs. So Mac Jones is probably looking at this roster and saying, dang, I've got guys around the league in their second year, third year. They've got these amazing receivers. They've got amazing offensive lines. And I'm here trying to work with mid-ground people that are trying to protect me on this offensive
They're fine.
line.
That's like the word, right? It's okay. It's fine.
It's okay.
You're fine.
Exactly.
Phil, that shirt looks fine on you. It's fine.
It's not great, but it's fine.
Phil, I think
your haircut, Phil, it's fine.
I think it's a lovely color on you, Phil. You and you stand out from your background.
Can I just say what's funny about Amina's comment with the Tom Brady situation, and you're acting like you still have Tom Brady and he can make up for what you're lacking at the receiver position. Even Tom Brady had more than what Mac Jones has right now. For the vast majority of Brady's last decade here, it was Wes Welker or Randy Moss or Rob Gronkowski or Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola. He had weapons, and he had high-end weapons. He had a couple Hall of Famers to work with. That's not what they've had here really since 2019, Brady's last season here.
And is that maybe part of the fact that maybe people aren't really gravitating towards playing in New England anymore because Tom Brady isn't here? I feel like that's part of the conversation as well.
I mean, it is, but they did draft Rob Gronkowski. Yeah. I know they had to go out and get Wes Welker. They had to sign Julian Edelman, but they just have not made the offense a priority in a really long time.
What do you mean they drafted three? Oh, wait, 3 defensive guys.
They drafted 3 defensive guys.